Tropical contact high, way down in Kokomo. Jamaica, ooh, I wanna take you to Bermuda, Bahama. Come on, pretty mama, Key Largo, Montego, baby, why don't we go down to Kokomo? We'll get there fast and then we'll take it slow. That's where we wanna go, way down to Kokomo. Puerto Prince, I wanna catch a glimpse.
Happy birthday, Megan Jones. 13 today. Happy birthday to you. From Mom, Dave, Ken, Amelia, Elsie, Maya, Saren, Daisy the dog, Kitty the cat. Everybody basically loves you. Happy birthday. Let's get some news now on Radio 2 on the BBC Sounds app, on your smart speaker and on 88 to 91 FM.
BBC News at 5 o'clock. This is Claire Ronacres. Rishi Sunak has bowed to pressure and says he will now travel to next week's major climate conference in Egypt. Health leaders are warning the NHS faces bigger challenges now than during the pandemic. And the footballer Ronnie Radford, who 50 years ago sent Hereford fans into ecstasy, has died. Rishi Sunak has performed a U-turn on his decision not to go to the COP27 climate summit in Egypt next week. The Prime Minister was widely criticised, including by Conservative MPs, after he said last week that there were more pressing priorities at home. But in a statement released this morning, he warned there would be no long-term prosperity without action on climate change. The Green Party MP, Caroline Lucas, welcomed the reversal, but said it was a bad look for the Prime Minister.
I think it's quite extraordinary, really, that he didn't recognise the seriousness of this climate meeting right at the start. I think it is that he has been shamed into doing it by so many people saying that it's the wrong decision. But it's not just attendance at this meeting that matters. We are also pursuing yet more coal, yet more oil and gas. So again and again, this is a Prime Minister who is showing the wrong judgment on the big calls.
The UN says Europe has experienced the fastest temperature rise out of all the continents in the past 3 decades, with increases of more than twice the global average. A joint report by the World Meteorological Organization and the EU's Copernicus Climate Service found that as a result, alpine glaciers in Europe had lost nearly 100 feet in thickness since 1997. The head of the NHS in England has warned that the health service faces bigger challenges now than at the peak of the COVID pandemic. Amanda Pritchard said patients weren't always getting the standard of care they deserved, and the NHS needed more money because of rising inflation. Speaking to the health think tank, the King's Fund, she said she was trying to improve efficiency.
That is right, that we should continue to challenge ourselves on that, and back to my let's make sure we're spending every pound of taxpayers' money wisely. No one is stepping back from that, but it is no doubt there is a job of work to do to work through the implications of inflation, and that is something that we're in conversation with government about at the moment.
The BBC understands that the government's considering delaying the introduction of a cap on social care costs in England. Currently, from next October, an individual won't have to pay more than £86,000 during their lifetime for help with services such as washing and dressing. There's been concern the change could add pressure to the system. Martin Tett is the Conservative leader of Buckinghamshire Council and speaks for local authorities on social care.
The government needs credit for grasping a nettle that lots of previous governments haven't grasped, but they will add to cost rather than replace cost. And they will need additional staff, which just quite frankly don't exist at the moment. So what we really want to do is sit down with the government and plan those introductions in a much more methodical and reasonable way.
A serving Metropolitan Police officer and a former constable have been jailed for sharing grossly offensive messages on WhatsApp. Jonathan Cobban and Joel Borders joked about tasering children, raping a colleague, and expressed racist views in a group chat with Wayne Couzens, who murdered Sarah Everard last year. Both were jailed for 12 weeks at Westminster Magistrates Court, but have been bailed ahead of an appeal at the High Court. Council leaders in Kent have written to the Home Secretary Suella Braverman to warn that the country is at breaking point because of the burden of accommodating migrants. The leaders of 14 authorities across the county have raised a series of concerns, including a risk of unrest at the overcrowded Manston processing facility. In the Commons, Rishi Sunak admitted that not enough asylum claims were being processed, but promised to fix the system. The former Hereford United footballer Ronnie Radford, who's best known for his spectacular FA Cup goal against Newcastle in 1972, has died. He was 79. The long-range strike was described by John Motson.
Radford again. Oh, what a goal! What a goal! Radford the scorer. Ronnie Radford. And the crowd are invading the pitch.
It won goal of the season, the first FA Cup goal to do so. Paying tribute, Hereford said Ronnie Radford was a mild-mannered and honest man, and it will always keep him close to our hearts. Finally, the BBC has announced that it's leaving Wogan House, the building in central London that's been home to many of Radio 2's programmes since 2006. The corporation said the move was part of efforts to reduce the number of properties it leases and to bring down emissions. The Radio 2 team will be moving across the road to the BBC's Broadcasting House headquarters. The weather, heavy rain will sweep across central and southern England and blustery showers will continue for northwestern areas, especially in Scotland, but skies will clear elsewhere. Temperatures dipping tonight to 12 Celsius in London, 10 in Cardiff and 7 in Belfast and Edinburgh. BBC News, it's 5:05.
Claire, thank you very much.
I know it's a lot, the hand, the bod. Sarah Cox, you're welcome. Sarah Cox.
Next hour, we're getting our swagger on with new Liam Gallagher, getting our groove on with classic Rosie Gaines. We're also going to be playing some jukebox jam. Get ready to sing, start warming up now, maybe. Me, 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 la, 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 la.
Hey! Well, anyway, let me say you're welcome for the wonderful world you know. Hey, it's your day to say you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you.
Da da da